holding these up over.
So listen, sometimes this relates to a thing that happened the other day, which I think is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Tom Cotton held up qualified U.S. attorneys nominations for 8 months on the explicit argument that he was mad at Dick Durbin for interrupting him in a hearing and not apologizing for it. For 8 months. He said this out loud. This is not in controversy.
This is another one of these Harvard guys.
Tom Cotton said for 8 months.
What's with these Harvard boys? What do they teach them up there?
He said this out loud in public. He said, I am not going to let these U.S. attorneys nominees go forward until the gentleman from Illinois apologizes to me for interrupting me in a hearing 8 months ago. And finally, after 8 months, Dick Durbin said, okay. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry, Mr. Snowflake. I hurt your feelings. And Tom Cotton graciously, after 8 months of being petulant, decided, okay, we can let the U.S. attorney's nominations go forward. I think sometimes, Willie, there's a point. They're just, what Ted Cruz, as I've said before, is not a United States senator. His only job.
Yeah, okay, so there's an ostensible point, right? They've said they want to get Tony Blinken and Jake Sullivan fired.
Okay, but hold on a second. Let's separate. Hold on, we need to stop. Let's separate two things.
Okay.
One, we have Ted Cruz, who is concerned about something that a hell of a lot of Americans and a hell of a lot of allies are concerned about.
Sure.
And it's a pipeline. That's one thing.
Sure.
And then you have Mr. Masculinity, the guy with the tiny bone structure and the little neck that's worried about the war on masculinity. He's the one that wants to fire. He's saying he's going to hold people up until they fire members,
and Sullivan,
which is just insanity. That's reckless.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
They're all just trying to own the libs. That's all they're all trying to do. This is all performative politics. None of this is. I mean,
Twitter.
They may have various arguments about Blinken or Sullivan or a policy, but these things, these obstructionist tactics, are all just about how do I get more follows on Twitter? How do I get more of the credit from the right-wing noise machine for having owned the libs on some given thing? This isn't serious policy making. This is or even serious argumentation. This is just winning the day on right-wing social media.
But Jonathan, this used to happen though, where people would hold up a nominee and they'd say, "Why are you holding up the nominee?" They'd say, "Well, because of this pipeline, it's going to hurt our allies. It's going to empower Russia." So what Ted Cruz did at the beginning, that's normal Washington fare. Usually, though, what would happen is after about a couple of weeks of wrangling, they'd go to the administration, they'd strike a deal. I understand the administration is trying to strike a deal with Senator Cruz on this. I mean, that's one thing. It's quite another to say you have to fire your national security advisor or I'm not going to let anybody through. That's that's just
buffoonery.
Just sheer recklessness from the guy with. I mean, it is the most delicate bone structure. Hold on, Jonathan. We want Jonathan to answer.
Oh, I thought
you don't have to talk about the bone structure, but go ahead.
No, I'll ignore the bird hands. The bird hands, yeah.
But they really are, aren't they? Admit it.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's a difference between a principled objection about something because of something you care about and trying to institute your own foreign policy when you're a senator and not the president. And that is what we have seen from a number of these Republicans who are trying to suggest, like, no, this is what how the United States should treat the world, as opposed to the person who was elected by the voters of this country to do so. And look, the pipeline, the Biden team, they say they admit it. They inherited it. It's 90% done. It's not something they're thrilled with, but they feel like there's not much they can do. And it's also a difference, and this should be underscored as well, is that some of these ambassador holdups are for nations that are right now in the midst of real global hotspots. Ukraine, Russia, of course, the issues in China. These are matters right now. These have global implications. They're going to shape not just the foreign policy of this administration, but the world itself. There are troops amassed at the border in Ukraine and the threat of conflict elsewhere in the world as well. So that is why this is different. And certainly the White House has really upped their rhetoric in recent weeks to say, look, this is unacceptable. We need to get these ambassadors in place. Maybe that's beginning.